They thought I was weak, that I'd just take their abuse forever. But while they were laughing at me, I was gathering evidence that would destroy everything they built. At 42, standing in my own shower washing dried blood from my scalp, I never imagined my wife would lean against the bathroom door and whisper the words that would shatter everything I believed about the woman I'd married. What she said next didn't just end our marriage, it revealed a darkness I never saw coming. I'm literally trembling as I type this from a quiet corner booth at this local diner, my phone buzzing relentlessly with calls I refuse to answer. Been married to Catherine for 4 years now, and she has a daughter, Emma, who's 17 from her previous relationship with this guy named Christopher. The first 18 months were genuinely promising. Emma kept mostly to herself but showed reasonable respect. We'd occasionally bond over weekend movie marathons, nothing extraordinary, but enough to make me believe we were cultivating something meaningful as a family unit. I genuinely invested everything I had into this relationship, brothers. I poured my heart into building something real with this kid. Then, roughly 10 months ago, everything shifted. It began subtly. Emma conveniently forgetting household responsibilities I'd specifically requested, abandoning her belongings scattered throughout our shared living spaces, displaying increasingly disrespectful verbal responses. Standard teenage behavior, right? But the situation deteriorated rapidly. She'd deliberately wait until Catherine stepped out to call me replacement dad, or inquire when I'd be moving along like all the previous ones. I'm not fabricating this, friends. Catherine consistently manufactured excuses. She's still processing the transition. It's merely a developmental phase. She's particularly sensitive regarding father figures in her life. Every attempt I made to address these concerns with Catherine resulted in her becoming increasingly defensive, and somehow I'd inevitably find myself apologizing for bringing up legitimate issues. Classic manipulation territory, but I was too emotionally invested to recognize the warning signs clearly. Fast forward to 5 days ago. I arrived home exhausted after a 14-hour shift at the automotive repair shop, absolutely drained and hadn't consumed anything substantial since my lunch break around noon. There was a single slice of leftover pizza remaining in our refrigerator from their earlier dinner. One solitary slice. I heated it in the microwave, settled into my recliner to finally eat something, when Emma comes charging into the kitchen demanding I surrender my food. I just completed a 14-hour workday and haven't eaten anything, I explained calmly. My mother purchased that pizza, not you, she retorted with attitude. Actually, I paid for it yesterday with our household grocery budget, I responded, attempting to maintain my composure. Whatever, loser, she muttered dismissively. I chose to ignore her provocation and took my first bite. Suddenly, there's this explosive crack across the back of my skull. This kid had struck me with the wooden handle of our kitchen broom. Hard enough that I pitched forward, my pizza scattered across the floor, and I felt warm blood trickling down the back of my neck. I spun around in complete shock, and Emma stood there wearing this barely contained smirk, like she was struggling not to burst into laughter. Oh damn, sorry about that, David. The broom just slipped, she claimed with mock innocence. The broom just slipped, while she was apparently sweeping the air directly behind my head, right? Catherine rushed into the room, observed me bleeding, and you know what her immediate reaction was? Not concern for my well-being. Her first words, Emma, what did he do to you? Let that reality settle in, friends. I'm standing there with blood streaming down my neck, and her maternal instinct immediately assumes I must have provoked her precious daughter somehow. I was so stunned by this response that words completely escaped me. Emma maintained her innocent facade, claiming she was simply cleaning, and the broom accidentally flew from her grasp. Catherine believed her story instantly, never questioning the physics of such an accident. She grabbed some paper towels, tossed them in my direction like I was creating an inconvenience, and instructed me to clean up the mess before it stained our hardwood flooring. I retreated to our bathroom, assessed the damage. My head was pounding relentlessly, and I had this 3-inch gash that was bleeding considerably. Probably required medical stitches, but I handled it myself. I cleaned the wound as thoroughly as possible and went to bed without speaking another word. Catherine never bothered checking on my condition. The following morning, Emma smirked throughout breakfast while Catherine acted as though nothing significant had occurred. I departed for work still experiencing dizziness, but what alternatives did I have? That evening, I stepped into the shower, attempting to remove the dried blood that had adhered to my hair like cement. I'm standing beneath the hot water with my eyes closed when I sense someone's presence in the bathroom. Opening my eyes, Catherine is positioned there, observing me through our glass shower door with this peculiar expression etched across her face. Then she moves closer to the glass and speaks the words that fundamentally altered everything between us. Next time, don't flinch. Maybe she'll aim for your throat. Her voice carried this eerily calm tone, as though she was providing a casual weather update. Then she smiled, retrieved her facial moisturizer, and exited the bathroom like she hadn't just suggested her daughter should attempt to kill me during their next encounter. I remained standing under that stream of water until it ran completely cold, my mind racing through 1,000 different thoughts simultaneously. Had I misunderstood? Was this some twisted form of dark humor? But that expression in her eyes, there was absolutely nothing humorous about her demeanor. After my shower, I discovered a notification on my phone. Catherine had sent a text message to Emma, but accidentally included it in our family group chat before quickly deleting it. However, I'd already glimpsed the preview. He's such a pushover, lol, bleeding like a baby. That moment triggered something profound within me. Not explosive rage, but rather everything suddenly crystallized with perfect clarity. This wasn't a family unit. This was me financially supporting two individuals who genuinely despised my existence. I maintained normal appearances that evening, but while they occupied themselves with their television programs, I accessed Catherine's phone. Yes, I knew her password. She utilizes the same combination for everything: Emma's birth date. What I discovered made me physically nauseated. Hundreds of text exchanges between her and Emma, laughing about my reactions. Catherine encouraging her daughter to push my boundaries further, congratulating Emma for incidents where she'd shown me blatant disrespect. But the situation was far worse than simple mockery. Catherine had been systematically draining our joint checking account for months, transferring funds to Christopher, her ex-partner, who apparently isn't the irresponsible deadbeat she'd portrayed. They maintained regular contact, and she'd been manipulating both relationships simultaneously. I found text conversations with her friends describing me as her meal ticket and temporary solution until she resolves her situation with Christopher. 4 years of my life, and I'm merely a temporary solution. Then I discovered the photographs, dozens of images featuring my personal possessions with accompanying messages to her friends discussing potential resale values. My signed baseball card collection, my father's vintage wristwatch, irreplaceable items with deep sentimental meaning. She'd been cataloging my belongings like inventory. I returned her phone to its exact original position and went to bed, lying awake for hours while she slept peacefully beside me, completely unaware that her entire deception had been exposed. I spent that time meticulously planning my next moves. Yesterday, I called in sick to work and dedicated the entire day to documentation. Bank statements, screenshot evidence, everything forwarded to my personal email account, then deleted all traces. Photographs of the head wound Emma had inflicted. I even activated a voice recording application during our dinner, capturing Emma making 3 separate comments about how accidents happen all the time while maintaining direct eye contact with me. I haven't confronted either of them yet. I'm executing a long-term strategy here. They perceive me as weak, believing I'll simply tolerate this treatment indefinitely. They have absolutely no comprehension of what's approaching. This morning, I departed before they awakened, drove aimlessly for hours, thinking and strategizing. Stopped by my friend Marcus's place to arrange some financial assistance. Then I executed something that apparently terrified them both. I powered off my phone for 8 complete hours. Simply shut it down and savored the silence. When I reactivated it 30 minutes ago here at this diner, I had 43 missed calls. 43. Text messages saying, "Where are you?" and "We need to talk," and finally, "Please come home. We're worried about you." Worried now. They're concerned after Emma's accident and Catherine's throat comment. I haven't responded to anything yet. They don't deserve insight into my thought process. But trust me, friends, this story is just beginning. I've never considered myself a vengeful person, but for this level of betrayal, I'm making a significant exception. I'll provide updates when developments occur. Right now, I need to finalize my next strategic moves while these individuals frantically blow up my phone, assuming I'll come crawling back like some defeated victim. Stay tuned. This situation is far from concluded. 2 weeks have passed since I discovered my wife and stepdaughter had been manipulating me like some elaborate psychological experiment. Two of the most challenging weeks of my existence, but I promised an update when significant developments occurred. After reactivating my phone that day at the diner, I faced a critical decision. Option 1. Confront them immediately and watch Catherine fabricate some elaborate explanation. Option 2. Execute a calculated long-term strategy. I chose patience, and friends, it proved to be the most difficult thing I've ever accomplished. I returned home that evening, maintaining perfect normalcy. Catherine was furious about my unreachable status, launching into this manipulative guilt trip about their worry levels, how Emma feared something terrible had happened. Meanwhile, the kid sat there smirking behind her mother's back. I simply nodded and explained my phone had died while helping Marcus relocate some furniture. She didn't believe me, but whatever. That night, while they slept, I initiated what I privately called Operation Complete Liberation. First priority, financial security. The following morning, I visited an entirely different banking institution, opened a new account, and changed my direct deposit information at work. Told my supervisor I needed immediate processing, and Mike didn't ask questions. Thanks, Mike. You're genuinely reliable. Next, I conducted a forensic analysis of our financial records. What I uncovered was exponentially worse than my initial discoveries. Catherine hadn't just been siphoning money to Christopher. She'd opened 4 credit cards using my identity without my knowledge. 4 separate accounts. She'd been meticulous. Statements redirected to her email. Minimum payments maintained punctually so I wouldn't receive collection notices. But she'd accumulated over $12,000 purchasing items for herself and Emma. Designer clothing, gaming equipment, a weekend getaway I never knew existed. My credit score was completely destroyed, and I'd been oblivious. I documented everything. Screenshots, downloaded statements, recorded dates, times, amounts. Created a comprehensive document listing every penny that vanished from our joint account. Then I executed something that changed the entire dynamic. I located Christopher on social media. Initially, I wasn't planning direct contact, just wanted to assess this individual. But his profile featured photographs of him coaching Emma's former softball team, posts about missing his daughter. Nothing resembling the irresponsible deadbeat Catherine had described. So I took a calculated risk and messaged him. Simply stated I needed to discuss Catherine and Emma. He responded within minutes. Christopher has been fighting for increased visitation rights for years. Catherine told the courts he doesn't pay child support. He does, and I saw the documentation. She claimed he's verbally abusive. He's not. Meanwhile, she's been telling Emma her father doesn't want contact and systematically poisoning their relationship. Christopher forwarded screenshots spanning 4 years of his attempts to arrange visits that Catherine blocked, birthday messages to Emma that Catherine never delivered, court documents proving he's never missed a single support payment. My understanding of reality was completely shattered. But wait, it gets significantly worse. While searching through our home office, I found Catherine's old laptop. Password protected, but she uses identical passwords for everything. Hidden folder containing photographs of her and Christopher from 8 months ago, while we were married. These weren't friendly casual pictures, if you understand my meaning. Now I possessed proof of financial fraud, credit identity theft, stealing from our joint account, infidelity, lying to family courts, encouraging her daughter to physically harm me. But I still wasn't prepared to execute my plan. I needed more evidence. I purchased a small voice-activated recording device online. $60, arrived the next day. Concealed it beneath our coffee table where Catherine and Emma typically gathered when I wasn't home. Left it recording for 4 days. When I reviewed those recordings, friends, I nearly vomited. The way they discussed me during my absence, Catherine calling me her walking bank account, Emma laughing about striking me with the broom, Catherine explaining she was working on Christopher to reconcile so she could ditch the provider. They'd even discussed manipulating me into adding both their names to our house deed so she'd receive half during the divorce she was already planning. She'd been orchestrating this for months. The recorder captured Catherine on a phone conversation, probably with her friend Sandra, describing the investment, meaning me, wasn't generating expected returns because I was too conservative with spending. That I wasn't as financially established as she'd assumed when we married. Sorry, I don't possess a trust fund, Catherine. Some of us actually work for our money. I was seething internally, but maintained my normal husband facade at home. Making dinner, watching television together, sleeping beside a woman who was literally plotting to steal everything I owned. Then I had a breakthrough. Discovered Catherine has a sister, Rebecca, living about 90 minutes away. They haven't communicated in years. Catherine always claimed Rebecca was jealous and emotionally unstable. I contacted Rebecca through social media, and we met for coffee last week. Rebecca isn't jealous or unstable. She severed contact with Catherine after catching her stealing from their dying grandmother. According to Rebecca, this represents Catherine's established pattern. Locate a decent man, systematically drain his resources, move to the next target. Rebecca possessed evidence too, photographs of jewelry that disappeared from their grandmother's estate, screenshots of Catherine bragging to friends about her system for finding providers. She even warned me that Catherine likely maintained an exit strategy involving making me appear abusive, garnering sympathy and financial support from her next victim. For 2 weeks, I continued gathering evidence while acting completely normal at home. Most challenging period of my life, pretending everything was fine while knowing I was cohabitating with people who genuinely hated me. Eating dinner across from them, watching Emma smirk every time Catherine made subtle digs at my character. Then last Wednesday, my opportunity materialized. Catherine mentioned considering taking Emma to visit her cousin this weekend, 4-hour drive. Would I be comfortable alone for the weekend? Would I be comfortable? Friends, I had to suppress my excitement. I acted reluctant initially, told her I'd miss them terribly gag, even offered to accompany them. She fabricated some excuse about her cousin's house being too small for additional guests. I finally relented and said they should enjoy their family time. The moment they departed Friday afternoon, I implemented my strategy. First, I withdrew precisely my half of our remaining joint account balance. Just my contribution, all documented. I'm not a thief like her. Then I contacted my friends Marcus and Robert. They arrived with a truck, and we spent 10 hours moving all my possessions. Furniture I'd brought into the marriage, electronics I'd purchased, my clothes, tools, everything that belonged to me. We relocated everything to a small apartment I'd secretly rented the previous week. Not luxurious, but it's mine, and she doesn't know the location. I left all her belongings untouched, left Emma's gaming setup and personal items. I'm not heartless. The kid's been manipulated by her mother her entire life. Before departing, I placed 3 items on our kitchen table. A folder containing copies, not originals, of all evidence. Bank statements, credit card statements featuring my name but purchases I never authorized, screenshots of her text messages mocking me, transcripts from recordings of them ridiculing me, printouts of her conversations with Christopher over the past year, including those photographs from 8 months ago. A note that simply read, "I know everything. Contact your attorney." Then I left my house key on top and walked away. They weren't scheduled to return until Sunday evening. I spent Saturday and Sunday establishing my new residence, canceling joint accounts, and filing fraud alerts on credit cards I never opened. Sunday at 8:17 p.m., my phone exploded. 34 missed calls in 45 minutes. Voicemails from Catherine, screaming, then crying, then threatening, then pleading. Text messages from Emma calling me every possible insult, then suddenly changing tactics when she realized I possessed recordings of her admitting the broom incident wasn't accidental. More texts from Catherine oscillating between threats and desperation, claiming we could resolve everything. She never meant any of it. How I'd misunderstood her intentions completely. When they discovered the empty house Sunday night, completely vacant except for their belongings and that single envelope, no explanation of my whereabouts, no discussion beyond the evidence I'd left, that's when my phone became unusable. It's been 3 days now. I haven't responded to a single message. My attorney, whom I retained last week, advises complete communication blackout. Everything proceeds through him now. Catherine's latest manipulation involves having her friends message me, claiming I'm destroying a family and Emma is devastated. The same Emma who struck me with a broom and laughed about it. This morning, I awakened in my new place. It's quiet, peaceful. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was navigating a minefield. This isn't concluded yet, friends. The real consequences are approaching, because currently Catherine believes this is merely about me leaving. She has no comprehension of what's coming next. Thanks for supporting me through this journey, my friends. The storm is about to intensify dramatically. 6 weeks have elapsed since my last update, and what a transformative period it's been. I literally had to disable all notifications because this situation exploded beyond anything I anticipated. Thanks for the overwhelming support. Reading your comments sustained me during some genuinely dark nights. The morning after I moved out, I awakened to this profound silence in my new apartment. For a moment, I forgot my location, that brief panic when you wake up somewhere unfamiliar. Then reality hit. No Emma stomping around, no Catherine sighing dramatically when I used too much hot water, just tranquility. I prepared coffee with this inexpensive coffee maker I'd grabbed from the store, forgot mine during the move, sat on my air mattress since I hadn't assembled my bed yet, just sipping coffee, watching sunrise through blinds that weren't properly aligned. For the first time in forever, I felt this enormous weight lifted from my shoulders that I hadn't even realized was there. Then I checked my old phone. Over 100 missed calls overnight. The messages began hostile. Catherine using every possible insult, threatening police involvement for allegedly stealing household items. Then they shifted to confusion when she actually examined the evidence I'd left. By morning, they'd become desperate pleas. But I wasn't responding. Not yet. Instead, I executed the next phase of my strategy. First, I forwarded everything to Christopher, complete documentation of how Catherine had been lying to family courts about him, manipulating Emma against him, and using child support money to fund her lifestyle while claiming he never contributed. Included those photographs of them together from 8 months ago that I discovered on her laptop. Next, I sent a carefully worded email to Catherine's supervisor. Nothing dramatic or accusatory, simply inquiring whether expense reports she'd been submitting for client meetings that never occurred represented company policy. Attached screenshots of her text messages admitting she was pocketing reimbursements. Apparently, her company takes financial impropriety quite seriously. Then came the family nuclear option. I'd been quietly connecting with Catherine's relatives on social media during those 2 weeks, her parents, siblings including Rebecca, aunts, cousins, people she'd been lying to about me, Christopher, and everything else for years. I created a private group message, added them all, and shared a simple explanation. I'd left Catherine after discovering financial fraud and infidelity. Said I was sorry things concluded this way, and thanked them for welcoming me into their family. Then I attached one document with dates, times, and screenshots proving everything. Let me tell you, friends, family drama spreads rapidly. By day 3, Catherine's mother was demanding explanations. Her father was absolutely furious about the credit card fraud. Her aunt, who apparently had loaned Catherine money based on lies about me being financially abusive, was threatening legal action. Meanwhile, my attorney filed divorce paperwork and financial separation documents, fraud reports for credit cards she'd opened using my identity, and a police report documenting the broom assault. Not necessarily to press charges against Emma, but to officially document everything. Day 5. Christopher's attorney contacted Catherine about revisiting custody arrangements based on new evidence. Apparently, lying to family court judges about the other parent is severely frowned upon. Day 7. Catherine got suspended from her job pending investigation into financial irregularities. Day 10. I finally answered one of her calls. She was crying so intensely I could barely understand her words, begging me to stop the attacks from all directions, claiming I'd ruined her life, that she was about to lose everything: job, custody, family support, the house she couldn't afford without my income. I let her exhaust herself completely, didn't interrupt, didn't gloat, just listened. When she finally ran out of steam, I said only one thing: everything happening is the direct result of choices you made. Then I disconnected. Harsh perhaps, but 4 years of manipulation and a broomstick to the head earns you exactly zero sympathy from me. The following weeks blurred together: lawyer meetings, paperwork, blocking new numbers as Catherine kept attempting contact through her friends' phones after I blocked hers. Then something unexpected occurred. I received a message request on social media from an account I didn't recognize. It was Emma. I almost deleted it without reading, but curiosity prevailed. Her message wasn't what I anticipated. No profanity, no threats. Just, I didn't know about the credit cards or the stuff with my dad. Can we talk? Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop near my new place. Public location, daytime, No possibility of ambush. When I arrived, the kid looked different. Smaller somehow, shoulders hunched, dark circles under her eyes. She'd been sleeping on her friend's couch since the electricity got disconnected at the house. Catherine hadn't paid the bill in 3 months, using the money for who knows what. We sat in uncomfortable silence for a solid minute before she spoke. Said her mother had been feeding her lies about Christopher for years. After I left, Christopher contacted her directly, showed her proof of all his attempts to see Emma that Catherine had blocked. The kid was shell-shocked. Her entire reality flipped upside down in a month. Discovering your mother's been lying about basically everything your entire life. That's devastating at any age. But 17? Brutal. She admitted hitting me with a broom wasn't accidental. Said her mom had been encouraging her to test my boundaries for months, make me snap so Catherine could paint me as the aggressor when she eventually left. Most surprisingly, she actually apologized. Not some half-hearted non-apology, but genuine admission that she'd been wrong. Said she'd been angry for so long, she just aimed it wherever her mother pointed. I didn't forgive her immediately. That's going to require time, if it ever happens. But I did tell her I was glad she was reconnecting with her father. Christopher filed for emergency custody. Emma's staying with him now, while Catherine attempts to claw her way out of the crater she created. As for Catherine, karma isn't just unforgiving, it's relentless. Her parents discovered she'd been stealing from her grandfather's retirement fund. That was apparently the final straw. They've cut her off completely. Her suspension became termination with potential legal consequences after the company conducted a deeper audit. The house is entering foreclosure because, surprise, she hadn't been making mortgage payments for months, just pocketing my contributions. She's been flooding social media trying to portray herself as the victim, but the evidence I shared with her family has circulated widely. Nobody is buying her narrative anymore. Last I heard, she's staying with her friend Sandra, selling her designer handbags online to make rent. The same bags she purchased with credit cards in my name. Ironic. Yesterday, I received divorce papers, but not from my attorney. Catherine found some budget lawyer willing to take her case. The filing is laughable, requesting alimony, half our assets, claiming emotional distress. My lawyer says it'll be dismissed the moment the judge reviews the fraud evidence. Where am I now? Still in my modest apartment, air mattress upgraded to a real bed, most of my belongings organized. Started therapy last week because 4 years of gaslighting affects your mental health. Dating? Not ready for that complexity yet. Need to repair my own psychological foundation first. The strangest thing is how normal everything feels now. Making my own meals without criticism, watching whatever I want on television, not walking on eggshells in my own home. Encountered Emma and Christopher at the grocery store last week. Awkward as hell, but civil. Kids staying in school, getting counseling. Christopher seems like a decent man who got manipulated by the same woman who nearly destroyed me. Is this story finished? Almost. Divorce should be finalized in a few months. Credit card fraud investigation continues. I'm taking it day by day, but friends, let me share something I never expected to feel again. Peace. Just straight up boring. Beautiful peace. No wife whispering threats while I'm washing blood from my hair. No stepdaughter waiting to accidentally hurt me again. No more being anyone's ATM or emotional target. The other day, I was driving home from getting takeout, and this song came on that Catherine used to love. A month ago, it would have sent me spiraling, but I just turned up the volume and kept driving. That's when I knew I was going to be okay. So that's it, my friends, the conclusion of the most insane chapter of my life. Thanks for riding with me through everything. Your comments kept me grounded when I was doubting myself. Special thanks to those who sent me recipes when I mentioned living on instant noodles. That chicken dish with the ranch seasoning was actually incredible. If there's one thing I learned from this experience, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Document everything. And when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Peace out, friends.